Well, it's a totally awesome fishing show that's not, because it's not a fishing film this week at all. What I'm going to do is put a film up. What it was, I'm walking through the supermarket and I see a sign on the notice board and it says, join us for a walk discovering with an expert the various fungi that are growing. Now it was autumn, that I know is the time for looking for those sort of mushroomy things. I thought, you know what, £5, what's £5? Donation, £5. I'll go and see the expert, I might learn something because I like information. So people, this is a non-fishing filler film. If you want to watch it, great. If you don't want to watch it, no problem, click off. But a few of you out there might find, if you like the outdoors, might find it a bit interesting. I know I learned some stuff. Let's get out in the woods. So I was walking around with these people, you know, they're just all fungi enthusiasts, I imagine. On a group, I don't know what there was, 12, 15 people, 18 people, something like that. And of course it involves digging around and poking around. Now Jack Russell would love turning all these logs over on his mouse hunting expeditions. He would really enjoy it. But, you know, I got quite involved in it really, because you're looking. I mean, generally you will walk through a woodland, you might notice stuff, you might notice the birds and that, but having seen the expert and the other people there that look for things, and I mean really look for things and try to identify them, I guess, like me going fishing, what it's all about is trying to identify something rare. Now, is this something rare? Uncle Graham's found something, and it's got all chew marks underneath it as well, which I understand are slugs eating them. Apparently love them. How do the slugs know which are the poison ones? And of course, you stupid boy Graeme, you just touched it. But look at this one growing on the wood there. Really delicate colours. Blacks, greys, creams. And because I like photography anyway, but when you start to look for these things, it really is amazing that you're walking through a woodland and you're sort of not really looking, if that makes sense.
But the last place we were at in the afternoon, when you go on, bonity things coming up after candle snuff. These are very tiny ones, though.
Oh right, so they haven't developed the white tip.
No.
Oh, so they start black, go white.
Yes. Or this candle snuff does. You get other similar
dead
things.
Men's fingers, don't you?
Dead men's fingers and dead moles' fingers as well. Dead men's fingers are a bit chunkier than the dead moles' fingers.
Candle snuff. Oh yeah.
It's really slimy. It's quite dark underneath. And it's not what I thought. I don't know what that is. I thought it was going to be a mycena called Epipterygia, which is rather a nice name, which is slimy, and which goes that sort of slightly greeny colour. But no, these are. I don't know what that is. Ooh, now these are nice. That's a different one, yeah. I'm looking to see, yeah. Oh, this is a Cortinarius, or was before it snapped. There are the remains of the veil there. See the remains of the veil? The brown bits on the stem. So it was like a cobwebs stretching from the cap down to the stem. And I don't know what it is, and there are lots of them, and ideally I'd take it away and dry a bit and put it in the tin. But the fellow who I'd give it to would say, well, what microscopy have you done on it?
Oh, the veil is very, very faint.
It is, but on... Well, you look at the cap structure, You'd look at the, you'd look and see if there's anything on the stem, you know, any little tiny hairs, what the texture of the stem is, and you'd certainly look at the gill. You'd cut a bit of the gill out, smack it around a bit so that it loses the edge a bit, and see what structures you can see under, stain it with Congo red. Got a little ring. You see a little ring? Yeah. So I can identify it. It is Paniolus, anyway, I could find, and it's got a little dimple on the top too. Most of the fungi you find on dung are much smaller than that. Mottle gill, I think. The mottle gill.
Might be wrong. Is that some form of fungus? This one?
That?
Yeah. Is that as part of a bracket fungus or something, or that King Alfred's cake thing that goes on ash?
I don't know about that.
I was thinking about the whole thing. That there.
Oh, that. Yeah, well, that's something. I thought that was wood for a minute.
Yeah, I just caught my eye. I thought, no, I think that's some form of growth there. That probably might have a couple.
That was falling off there.
That's another piece, yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say it might be easier to get.
Well, whatever it was, it's a bit beyond its sell-by date, I think. You're right, it is a bracket, but
There's several bracket funguses. I've seen the great big ones, you know. But is that a different type?
Ganoderma. There are loads. Some of them are soft, some of them are hard. Oh yeah, look, that one looks like a Ganoderma to me.
Ganoderma.
Oh, mind you. Well, I couldn't say.
Yeah.
It looks like nothing like that when it's
fresh.
Well, there was something else I saw. I mean, we obviously have the brown stuff, which is an alga, not a fungus. This stuff. But we have this stuff as well, which is another racupinate fungus. In fact, there might be more than one.
I got some lime mold, is it down there? Oh no, it's a squash fungus.
Squash.
This is fungus.
Yeah. No, I need to take some and do the microscopy on that. And there was this squash fungus, which is probably another Plutus. Ah, there's even a fungus on here, look. You see those yellow spots?
Yeah.
That's a rust fungus, and they're on the top of the leaf. So it's something called Cuniola uridinis. Oh, set. Right. Okay, it may not look very appetizing, but people do eat these. I'm not sure.
Is it a bow?
It's a set. Yes, there's not much of the cap left. No, not a birch belly. Look at the size of the stem and the shape of the stem. Very typical of the CEP. CEP.
Now look at the delicate foliage on this moss. Now I don't know whether that's what they call a sphagnum moss, is it? But I was intrigued by these tiny tendrils coming up with the yellow heads or buds or whatever they are on the top of them. I had no idea, but I was quite pleased that I discovered these. Nobody else in our little group, foraging group, had found this yet. And on asking the expert there, he said actually they're flowers. That's what they were, the flowers on the moss, which I never knew they actually had flowers. So there you go, I've learned something. Look at the colours in that.
I think it'll develop and go a bit browner.
So that comes off, does it?
Well, the cap expands, and the veil, obviously, as it gets stretched, it breaks, and the remains go on the stem. I've got a very good example of a Cortinarius here, if you haven't seen one.
Now, while we're looking at all the sort of what I call ordinary type of fungi, mushrooms, toadstools, call them what you will. I mean, there was a lot of Latin names flying around this place, I can assure you. It went basically in one ear out the other with me, but there was one disgusting discovery somebody made, and it was rare, and they were all trying to photograph it. It was, wait for this, a fungi that grows inside a caterpillar. It was a name to it, of which I can't remember because I'm not very good at school anyway. Terrible memory. A caterpillar, as you can see there, which has been, I suppose, eaten inside by a fungi living on it. There it is. So that's something completely different for me. And on some of the bits of old rotten wood, look at the beautiful colours of that white, pure white fungi. And there is underneath as well. And they're like different textures. Some of them are firm, hard, rocky. Others are soft and rubbery. And when you look down, which I didn't realise, look in that grass, loads and loads of different sizes and types coming up the grass, all of which I probably never noticed before. I've seen so many funguses. I don't think I'll ever eat mushrooms with my sausage, eggs and bacon again. But I have discovered, I'm going to take it back to our man the expert. I reckon that might be some form of new species as yet undiscovered by man. I feel I'm trying to get it out with a bit of root there as well. Let's take it back to our man, ask him what it is. Is it edible? I'm so excited with my little discovery. I'm sure we've seen it before, but wouldn't it be nice to take it back to the teacher? It's like being at school and taking it back to teacher, and you've actually got to see if I'm going to get 6 out of 10 for discovering something different that they haven't. All these other 10 people who know a hell of a lot more than I do, for sure. It's not difficult with my limited brain capacity. See if I found something a little bit different. Is that one you've done before or not? Or?
Oh, that's the other puffball.
So it is like a puffball, yeah?
Oh, yes. That's the common puffball, because you can, if you look at it...
Bigger than that, though, will it?
It will get bigger than that. If you look at it, though, the spines are sort of like little pyramids or cones. The ones on the other one weren't the same shape.
No. So it'll be a slightly different one, different type of puffball.
Yes, it's common puffball. Lycoperdon perlatum.
What was this?
Unfortunately, you'd need to look at the spores to be certain.
Oh,
Yes, but the difference of the spores is that I think, if I remember rightly, one of them slightly different shape, but it's also got septa. This one also has septa, but it's a different size, and it only has, say, one septum. So it probably is Sarcoides, but I always look at them.
Bitter black and Could I just ask you, somebody recording, what's the basic duration of these?
Fungi?
Yes, and are they going to be a few days, a few weeks, you know, from the... Is it...
Well, most of them are quite perishable,
Yeah.
so the individuals could be very quickly over. But you see, you've got young ones, you've got more coming possibly, it depends.
Yes.
The solitary ones, when they go, they go. Some of them only grow sort of solitary.
For a few days anyway, they'd last.
Yeah, a few days, but if you come back tomorrow, you may find that it's, you know, a young one has gone
It's changed
over.
and another one's come.
In fact, in warmer weather, particularly warm, wet weather, they'll go quickly.
Yeah,
Apart from anything else, slugs will eat them.
yeah. Is that a favourite food of slugs? I mean, I've seen them in the garden on the big ones, and you can see the
You'll
slug
find
eaters.
slugs all over fungi.
Why particularly them?
Well,
Is there something in the sugars, as you were saying earlier?
well, it's just, you
Just
know,
more
nice
food.
and easy to get to. And
Soft to eat, I suppose.
Yes, yeah. This is definitely what I thought it was. Brown ring. Nice orange gills. There's something called Gymnopilus junonius. Gymnopilus junonius. English name?
And nothing edible that you stumbled over today that you would say, oh, we've had an edible one, or is it quite rare to find an edible one?
We have had an edible one. Let me say, I don't eat anything
Yes.
that I get from the wild. I could get from the wild, even things like chanterelles. No, all I ever eat is stuff from the supermarket. I know where it's come from.
That's right.
And I know that if the growing conditions, it is unlikely that if I cut it open, I will find it full of fly larvae.
Oh yeah, they're always got
Right.
So the nice juicy fungi are often full of fly larvae.
Yeah.
There's a test you have to do for some of these boletes. You cut it in half and see if it changes colour. and what the colour change is. Is it, you know, the cap? Is it in the stem?
So the flies turn into the maggots and they eat the...
Oh, the flies lay
as
eggs
well.
on them, and the maggots bury their way in.
Yeah.
And I've, you know, I've cut them open, and the stem's been full of wiggly maggots. So, you know, I wouldn't want to eat that.
There's actually flies around. You can see the tiny little flies around these.
I mean, that is very
That's
typical.
not the same as the other one down there, is it?
No, that one's got a. It could have been.
Rings.
That's got a ring. It's got these sort of browny gills.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a very common one. Gymnopus dryophila. Used to be Colibia dryophila. Can you tell Colibia? Sorry, it's Gymnopus dryophila. Dryophilus. Sorry, get my. Of course, when it changes its genus, it sometimes changes its ending as well. The gills aren't attached very far down the stem. They're white. This is called Stearium, and it's if it obliges, it goes red. Something called Stearium goes pop. See, I've got the tissue. There we go. Sorry. It's a sort of a reddy colour, browny red. It's not very convincing.
And what is that red? What's coming out?
It's just bleeding a little bit. Quite a lot of fungi do bleed.
It's interesting to note that quite a few of the various fungi grow on the underneath of branches. So I assume, and trees that have fallen on the ground and are decaying. So I'm assuming it's because it's more damp under there, or maybe because it's shaded and cool.
Stem, in which case it is a cortinarius, but I wouldn't like to say about this one. It's quite big gilled. I'm not. It is brown.
There are lots of little ones here. Are these the same?
Well, they've released all their spores by now.
No, they'll still have spores in them. So you would be able to probably take it away and dry it and get some spores.
But when you mentioned about the DNA,
Yeah.
and I did hear you mention drying. How do you dry them? Is that because they're going to degrade? You know, if you just left them on the kitchen table in the sauce.
Oh yes, they would. They'd
They
go
just break down.
I can tell you, I'm not very popular at home because if I do leave any of my specimens around, they do smell.
But the way to dry
So-
them is what?
Right. Well, what you want to do is you want to find a youngish specimen, and what you want to do is to take a sample, a little tiny sample, and you put it in a tube about the size of my little finger, called an Eppendorf tube.
Yeah.
Once it's dried, you put it in the tube, then you give it to this fella. I know.
So he doesn't need the whole thing. It's just a
Oh, no,
portion of it.
You
yeah.
want a very, very small amount to do the DNA, but it needs to be clean.
And you're trying to make it as airtight as possible to stop the degradation of the material. I imagine that's
If
why
you
it's gonna
dry
be
it,
small.
it shouldn't deteriorate.
Yeah.
But you
That's
can
interesting, yeah.
refrigerate it.
There's a Woodland one.
There are colour changes you can do. This one's very wet. You're going to put them on the dryer. You can rub a sulfate crystal on it.
Young one of the one you were just talking about.
Probably Atropurpurea, Russula atropurpurea. The brittle gills are Russulas, and there are about 170 odd.
Will you get much bigger than that? Will you get bigger?
Well, you can get them that are this size.
Oh, really?
But not necessarily that species. That's a middle-sized species. As I was saying, the cap size can be a feature that you use to identify them. Because some of them are all whacking great things.
Yeah.
Some of them are quite small.
Yeah.
But it's called the deceiver because it can change its shape a little bit. You get big ones, little ones. It can also change its colour a little bit and its appearance. So you need to look underneath to check the gills. There's also something called the amethyst deceiver, which I hope we might see as well today, which is a lovely sort of purpley colour. I see this.
It's actually got.
It has got a bronzy sheen, hasn't it?
It's got bronzy sheen. It's got
And
pink.
it's got pink bits. Oh yeah, I'll take a picture of it. It's very well camouflaged.
That is nice colours on it.
Now one of those here before? No.
Normally, I do turn over lots, but normally.
I wouldn't like to say at the moment because I can't see the colour of the gills here. Now that I would say is something called an Inocybe, which is a fibre cap. I can't see too much fibre in that cap, but as a group they have this little sort of pointy, and this one is probably something called Inocybe geophylla vargeophila. Inocybe, I-N-O-C-Y-B-E.
You must be very good at Scrabble.
Yeah.
I don't think they allow proper names, do they?
No, yeah,
But you see the gill colour's a little off. It would go darker, I think. Oh, this is a very nice birch polypore.
Cauliflower.
Polypore.
There is a pond called a cauliflower.
There is, I'm not sure we'll see it. If you want to look underneath, you'll see why it's called a polypore. You can see very, very small pores. Tiny pores actually on this one. We'll hopefully find some brackets that have got bigger pores. Oh, well that's probably got a secondary infection. It's definitely gone over. But there are things that grow on.
Oh, okay.
Razor spots on. Now, if you look underneath this again, it's got pores, and the pores are rather bigger on this. You see, they're not huge, but I can actually make them out with my there without a lens. We hopefully find some things with really big pores. Someone's asking about
What was that one?
about Flyagarius. Now this, I don't know. It would need microscopy. It's under birch. There's something called Tricoloma album, or alba probably. There's something called Tricoloma stiperophyllum. If it's under birch, I think this one's too washed out, but there is a white thing like this that grows under birch, and it stinks, literally. It smells like an insecticide, so you can immediately tell what it is, and it is restricted, we think, to birch. So this one I don't know. I think it's a spores job, and I'm not even sure we could get it from that.
There you can see what they call the canopy underneath is, they call it gills underneath, I think they call it gills. And the bit halfway down the stem is where it's opened up from, because it starts to sort of dome and then it opens up. It's beautiful colours on the top there. There's a different one. Well, then it could be the same one that's deteriorated, I really don't know. Learning all the time.
They come in rather nicer colours, but those are a little bit older. You find some younger ones.
There's a much darker one there, but probably just because it's smaller.
Yes, they start off like.
Very good.
Other related fungi are available, but not much less common.
Now I was turning this piece of wood over, and what did I find underneath? I'm looking for basically creatures, beetles and fungi, and I saw something that looked like sort of white eggs. Can you see them? They're all spherical white eggs down there. Now, are they eggs, or are they in fact fungi growing? I don't know. Our expert wasn't around to answer that one for me. Does anybody out there know? Are they eggs or something, or are they a fungi?
I think it's another Mycena. Let's have a little look. Yeah, that one's got brown gills, that one's got... this is something. Yeah, the spines are coming together at the top, so if you look at them, they're like doing that.
Okay, yeah,
You
joining
see them?
together. Yeah.
So we can identify.
So, in the back of my own garden, we've been on that fungi mushroom chasing walk, and look at these two, which the wife found here. That's the size of my hand. There you can see they're absolutely huge. This one is actually broken off. There's three there. One over there. There's three there. There's a giant one there. This one has already gone over. Look, you can see there how the slugs have eaten away there, and you can see all the like the gills there, fibres. And there inside is a creature which is not a wood lice eating away. They've been eating in there. That looks like it's a creature was in there then. So this one is a jumbo. Probably will go over in the morning. And I'm going to go down the road because there's a spot I seen bracket fungus. Just come down one of our walks because there used to be a huge bracket fungus here, but obviously somebody snapped it off, but I thought it might be something just to show you. And they are indeed here, looking in a bit of a sorry state. But there, just there is the start of one bracket fungus. It's on, what's this one, a giant oak. You can see they're actually cut through the ivy here, so break it so that the ivy doesn't bring it down. Still looks like some growing up there. And this was a bracket fungus, which looks like it's now dying back. It was a huge fungus there on the side of the tree. That's the colour it would be underneath there normally, with that lovely, turn out that way, that lovely brown and white there. And it looks to me like this water's run down there. Maybe that's rotted this out. So something's changed up there. And there you can see where people have, for some reason or other, snapped it off. So that's the biggest fungus I can find. Well, in fact, actually that is the biggest fungus I can find. So people, hope you enjoyed that. It's something different, isn't it? I know, look, you know, it's not for everybody, I realise that, but I've learned a few things. And getting to see the caterpillar fungus, I never even heard of the thing that a fungus could live inside a caterpillar and eat it. That's horrible. Let's get back to the totally awesome workshop, office, shed, garage, wherever, before it rains. While walking with Doggy, here I come across, it's a still picture, this one of various different types of fungi, beautiful colour greens there. On one occasion, look at this one. So look at the size of this. The biggest toadstool I've ever seen in my life. Sorry to sacrifice it, but it's going to go over anyway. That is a monster. Does anybody know what that one is? Look at the size of it. It's huge. Absolutely the size of a Harley Davidson bike saddle, but not as noisy. Just caught my eye. That's the biggest world record ever. So this one was about 13 inches across. I went all the way back and photographed it. It was monumental. And of course then I got in touch with our man the expert, emailing backwards and forwards, because I was just walking with the dog and saw this enormous, and what was it, 13, when I put it down flat, 13.5 inches across. I believe it's called a parasol fungi, mushroom, whatever. I think they said they were edible. And I said, I think that could be a world record. Do you know what? I got the email back. He has never seen one that big and he's the expert. He said it could well be a record. Yes, get it. The biggest whatever mushroom thingy. So I enjoyed that. It was a bit of fun. It's something different. I've learned a little bit. So next time there's going to be a fishing film. Look out for that. If you have continued to watch this all the way through, thanks very much. I just put it out because it's, you know, something a little bit different, and it is, after all, outdoor stuff. See you in the next one.